Oh my god! Oh! Hey people, welcome back to my channel. We're at Woburn Bike Park and that's my local bike park. This is where I've ridden all my life and you guys have followed loads of different builds here. But the one kind of build and line that hasn't had any exposure, no content made, is the massive Freeride line that's at Woburn, because it got built 2 years ago and then the trees all fell down when we had a huge storm, Storm Doris, and it didn't exist for 2 years. And in the last kind of couple of months, this line's had a huge overhaul, loads of work done to it, primarily by Glencoe, Dan Downey, just the burn crew, the Woburn committee. Loads of people have helped with this. Jig's been hard at work cutting up logs, and there's now this, right, let me put it how it needs to be said. This is definitely the biggest hand-built line of jumps in the country by far. These jumps are enormous. When we get down there, you'll be able to see how big these jumps are. They've all been built with shovels, like the dirt jumps at the bottom. So, Woburn doesn't have a very big hill. I often ride the jumps, but you can probably tell from videos this hill is not big. Most of our tracks are like 25 seconds long, which is short. If you go to Whistler, you can ride for 20 minutes. This is 20 seconds. But some pretty good riders have come out of Woburn, and it goes to show that you don't need a big hill. Size doesn't matter, it's what you do with it. So this track, it's the only kind of route, course, track, trail at Woburn that starts facing one way and finishes facing the other way. So this definitely uses the space and uses the hill better than any other track, and that's why it's the longest and has the biggest jump. So we start facing this way, the top's just behind you, and it's pretty chill. It's all so well groomed because Glenn and Dan got it prepared for yesterday. The first day riding this line in full was yesterday, and it was insane. I've got the GoPro footage, I've got footage of tricks and this line actually working, which is insane. So, feature number one, and one cool thing about this line is it starts small and finishes big. That's how trails, dirt jumps, freeride lines, I think should be. It should build and build and build to add excitement. So the first jump's pretty chill. It's a little tiny hip tucked in under the trees. This is like, we've all ridden jumps like this in other tracks, but it's so nice that it just starts chill and small. This is probably 7 foot, 8 foot gap, compared to the ones down the bottom which we measured yesterday, which you'll find out how big they are when we get down there. So, after that you're into the whale tail. Whale tails are on slopestyle courses in dirt jump sections, but rarely on freeride big bike trail bike lines. So it's kind of like a small jump into a landing, and then this is like a mini whale tail, and then you gap into another bigger whale tail, lily pad thing. There's so many words for jumps, but it's nice and tiny, look. Land here, and you get a tiny kind of little setup for a nice size step down. Suddenly you've gone from 8 foot to, what, 12, 13 foot? This is a better size already. And one thing worth noting, and you'll see that all the way through this line, is downhill tracks are usually built by big machines, diggers, cut in with a back brake, a rake. But this is definitely the most well-groomed downhill freeride line I've ever seen. Like, all the edges are crisp, and that's all credit to Dan, Jig, Glenn. Glenn prepared all of this, and it's impressive. This is all done with spades, and those boys have got a hunger for doing big jumps, and they've built it at the local woods, which is admirable. Right, it's from here where we get the real elevation change, so the jumps are going to start getting pretty hairy, pretty big, fast. Up to here is a nice flowy section of little freeride jumps, but then you're really picking up speed. Now, there's no denying that down this landing your speed's going to double. 2 rollers for more speed and just for more fun. It's going to be cool to try and land in manual on that landing and try and get to these rollers, or land there, manual these, double up. There's options. Options are cool. We like options. It's like when you get loyalty points on a card and you have different options of ways of spending them, like 40% off if you spend over £100 or 20% off if you spend £200. Options.
Nice.
So, By the way, having now ridden the line, I'm so much more excited to be walking through and explaining it than when I was so nervous before riding it. This is the first proper jump, the hip. It's kind of like a shark finny takeoff. You can see that everyone who rode it yesterday is hugging the right hand side. And funnily, when Glenn tested this hip a couple of weeks ago, his arm hit that tree on the inside, which was scary. So you're actually going quite close to that tree. But it's not small. So you've gone from that 12-foot step down, and then suddenly it's getting big. Like,
whoa.
Is it there? If I stand in the gap, flip to landing, this is kind of as long as most of our dirt jumps down the bottom, so you can see why this line's good for bigger bikes, rear suspension bikes. And when we get further down, you can see why it's completely compulsory to have a bigger bike than a dirt jump bike. Because we talked about when you drop and the elevation changes, you build speed. Well, after this landing, look at the absolute runway into the next jump. Do you know what I mean?
Damn.
Even dragging your brakes a little bit, you're going to be picking up speed fast. So this is jump number, well, everyone's been calling that the first because it's the first big straight jump. And I think the reason it's called the first is it's the first one everyone was shitting themselves about. You have to add a beep in there. So you land the hip and you've had a good warm up for what's to come because there's a variety of jumps. And I think the scariest situation ever is a load of speed and a massive jump with nothing to prepare. But this line does build you up in a good way. There's rollers, pump bumps, they're all good ways of gauging speed. But from there to there is a long way. So yesterday, some people cased this, some people overshot this, but I really cased this. If you've seen the video on my Instagram, good for you. My ankles are still a bit sore today. And I've got the GoPro footage of that case, which I'll show any minute, because I landed the hip and my feet were a bit funny on the pedals, and I actually sat down there to get my feet back on. And as I hit this pump, I took off. And the best way of losing speed is taking off on pump bumps. You need to keep low and keep on the ground, which I failed to do. And then when we got to the lip, and this is a good sized lip, isn't it? That's probably...
It's big.
It's probably a 7-foot
7 foot, yeah.
Which, when you've got all that speed, you know you're going high, you know you're going long. And we've actually got some plywood under the carpet now, but previously it was soft, and I hit a rut, lost all my speed, and didn't I know about it when I landed. So, here's the footage of me hitting this jump. Whoa, that's crazy.
Oh my god.
So that was my first attempt, which was, I generally think that I'm quite a good person for judging speed of jumps, but I was so far off. I actually cased it with the soles of my feet. So I was like almost a bike length away from where I needed to be. But look at the back of that landing. Imagine what I was feeling in the air, knowing that even bailing, my body wouldn't make it into the landing. It sucked. So it's massive, and I think this one measured at 39 foot or 36, I can't remember.
The camera doesn't do it justice at all.
Do you want to stand back and I'll stand in the gap?
Yeah.
Hey mate.
Wow.
Pretty big.
Oh my god.
Massive, massive. Having fun?
Yeah, squeezing in another half an hour.
Good. Good. So, I landed on smack bang on the top of that landing, and it made the most dreadful noise, which wasn't all just my knees and ankles. I think my bike needs a thorough check, but I did get up, push back up eventually, and hit it again, and I cleared it. And I've got the footage of that, which is good because I'm glad I wasn't out for the whole day. But it's a long landing, and it's the same story. You're just dropping again and creating more speed. So this next jump's the biggest straight jump in the whole line. It's even longer. It's not as tall, but you can Can you imagine building that landing by hand? Can you
It's
actually imagine?
so long. Again,
Yeah.
doesn't do it justice.
A shovel full of dirt is like that much, isn't it?
Yeah.
So imagine how many of them you need to build that.
Crazy.
Pointless. That's what's so cool about Woburn and the Burn crew is stuff like that gets built with spades. And I think most diggers would run out of fuel before making a dent on
Definitely,
that, which is cool.
definitely.
So that's the first, the beast. And that's the most trickable jump. It's steep, it's slightly stepped up, it's enormous, but you go high. Whereas this jump is like, it's a flatter takeoff and it really makes you go long, you go far. So this one's 39 foot long, definitely. I remember that was measured at 39, which if you measure with a real tape measure your jumps at home, they're always smaller than you think. And 39 foot is huge.
Wait, let me try and get up here. It's gonna be the same story again. Wow. It just doesn't do it justice.
You should go up the hill and film down towards me.
Wow.
That's big, isn't it? That's 39 real feet.
Big feet as well,
Yeah.
like size 11s.
Yeah, real feet. Do you know what's funny is those two jumps, although they're huge, dangerous, scary, they're no way near the most gnarly part of this line. The next jump is ridiculous.
I remember seeing this months ago
Yeah.
and actually being scared looking at it.
So many people have messaged me saying what's actually happening with this line because I filmed about it over a year ago. In fact, yeah, more than a year ago. And it's just sat dormant, waiting, and the boys have brought it to life. This is the step down, which is of biblical scale.
Hang on, I haven't shown it yet.
It's huge.
No.
Alright, before you show it, you've come off of a 39 foot jump, okay? And the thing about jumping 39 foot jumps is you need to go fast. And the thing about going really fast is it's quite difficult to stop. So when you need to stop, you need a nice long distance, like they teach you in your driving test. Leave plenty of space between you and the vehicle in front to give yourself time to react, brake, and come to a stop in a safe distance. So, if you were going to jump a 39 foot jump and lead into a great big step down, you'd think, let's put loads and loads of space between those features, because if I overshoot the 39 foot jump or case it, I'm going to want to stop. However, there wasn't space for a nice big stopping distance. So I think
Wow.
there's less than 39 foot of stopping distance.
There's literally like 6 meters.
And if you jump this jump, you absolutely have to be committed to jumping this step down.
Oh my god.
We measured yesterday at 43 feet.
Right.
To a sheer back landing so far below. I hope the camera can do this justice.
I haven't
because
shown it
it's
yet.
Huge. No, we've got to show it.
Right.
It's big.
Oh
I'm just going to go and stand near the landing.
my god. You're so small.
How big is that?
That is
Well, I'll tell
actually.
you, 44 foot.
That is terrifying.
So, let me set the scene. Dan Downey and Glenn Coe, the guys who kind of inspired this line, made it work this week, yesterday, came up here, and it was a known fact that if you jump this second big one, you have to jump this. So imagine knowing the first ever time you jump, the biggest jump at Woburn, you have to also go straight into the biggest step down ever built at Woburn. It doesn't really compute, does it?
No.
But they both literally one banged the whole line, top to
Oh
bottom.
my god.
Hip, jump, jump, off that. And I wouldn't even know where to start with clearing that, with like knowing the exact speed, because you have to be exact. If you case that hard, it sounds morbid, I don't like to talk about it, but you'll break your legs. You will. It's gnarly. Well, you might not.
I mean,
But like,
there's a high chance that you will.
When you ride jumps, you've got to think about what might happen. So for me, I know that casing that is out of the question. But those guys hit it without knowing the exact speed, no real calculation, and they both absolutely nailed it. 44 foot, we measured where they landed. They went long by 1 foot, which is insane.
Fair play.
So good. So that meant we all could just say, "Oh, what's the speed like, boys?" And we get the real answer.
That is,
It's massive.
I'm gonna go for a quick fisheye switch
show really the
because
scale.
I feel like that's more like your eyes.
Okay, yeah, get it out. Do it now.
Let's do it.
Pretty hectic, isn't it?
Massive.
Hectic.
Massive.
Come and look at this tyre mark.
Come in.
I've just spotted this tyre mark here, which is exactly on the back corner of the landing. So somebody yesterday escaped by a whisker with their life. If they were 6 inches further back, it would have been a big problem. And I know it wasn't me because I rode the line on my hardtail, and that would have been so painful, like hospital stuff. Don't know who that was. But then we've got one more jump, and probably the most fun jump on the line because it's a step up. It's a trick jump. But
Oh my God.
if you think that from that landing, there's 4
Sorry,
jumps.
I literally just looked back up there.
So we to run up there.
This is,
big.
it's just,
serious bit of kit.
wow.
One of the cool things about this step down is when you land it and you land in the right place, it's really smooth. It's a big jump, and you expect as jumps to get bigger, the landings to get harder because of all the speed, all the like just gnarly stuff going on. But it's not, it's so smooth. And even on a hardtail yesterday on the San Quentin, it didn't feel that gnarly of a landing, which is a bit of a gift and a huge props to the guys that shaped it, because I wasn't sure about this. It's just the lack of braking time, like that 2 jumps have to be sewn together. I don't like the idea of overshooting and not being able to stop.
It's literally just like you've done one, you have to commit to the
Yeah.
other. Have to.
Yeah.
And like you said,
I'm trying to compare it to something, but it's like,
that is hospital.
yeah, it's like an unnatural feeling.
Oh.
But like yesterday, I had a big case over the bars. Callum Gizmo, who actually did so much digging on this line, he had the same situation, bailed over the bars. But we're fine. And Dan Downey had maybe questionably the biggest overshoot I've ever seen in my life on this jump yesterday, because that was built 2 years ago. And when it was built, it was after this step down. The step down was smaller, and that jump was smaller than it is now. But basically, we had to pump really hard coming off the step down to clear it, and it was just about flippable if you were going like balls to the wall so fast. So Dan yesterday, when it all got shaped up, said, "I think we're gonna have to do the same speed." And you kind of think like, but it's 2 years on, the ground's harder, there's more speed because that step down's so much bigger. And we watched him one bang the whole line, came hauling into this takeoff, and the moment he left the lip, you just knew the landing was gonna go so smooth. The landing disappeared from underneath him, and he stopped dead past the landing, and we measured that he went 46 foot. So he made the biggest jump on the line, which is huge. That's so big for Woburn. Jumps like that are massive. But it's really nice that this one's stepped up. It's like a proper gradual lip that ends up quite steep. That's definitely a trickable jump, even on a downhill bike. And then you can see where the back of the landing was for the first attempt yesterday. And when we all jumped this, it was that short, because after Dan one-banged everything, we knew we had to brake for this. So he took the big hit. He took the, like, I don't know, he just took one for the team, figuring out the speed. And it ended up, we all kind of knew the score, but now the landing's going to be pushed all the way to there. So that's another, I think it's like another 7-8 foot, which is cool. So that's, if this is a trick jump, it's going to be a seriously big one. And that is the line. It's called the Burn line. Lots of people have helped, and I can't believe it exists, and it's at Woburn, and it's made from shovels out of sand. And I imagine people are going to come from all over the country to see this line, because it's legendary. It's not open yet because it's not at its best, and the guys don't think it's ready to be open to the public until it's just spot on and everyone can ride it and it works and it's mega. So a bit of fine tuning, But I know it's been a lot of talking, but what a set of jumps. Here's the GoPro footage of me actually riding it top to bottom and it all working. That step down on GoPro looks as big as it does with my eyes. It's like you take off and you're aiming for a brick wall which is just at that distance away that you think I'm not going to get there. So fair play to everyone who's slung some dirt around, because what Woburn was 2 years ago compared to now with these dirt jumps and this freeride line and all the downhill tracks, it's pretty epic riding spot, and I'm so lucky to call this the local woods. So shout out to the Burn crew. Cheers Ben for filming. Let me know what you want to see happen on this line. Should we have a jam? Should we have a whip off? Best trick session on this when it's done. I'm going to film a proper video of everyone riding it when that happens. And here's a bonus drone clip that I got of Glenn flipping the first monster. So enjoy. Shout out to the boys. You're all legends. Peace.